iRepairMD, and today we have an iPhone 7 Plus that has been dropped, and we're going to do a screen repair. Stay tuned. Okay, so you see the LCD has been cracked. However, the digitizer and the screen itself is still working. But the way the Apple makes their phone now is all laminated, so you have to replace the whole unit. So first thing, rule number one, is to power down the phone completely. Okay, so now go ahead and power down the phone. The tools that we'll be using is a pentalobe. This is my wow stick with the tool set. Also, we will be using a pry tool and a heat gun. And of course, we are gonna need a new screen, and be cognizant of where the connectors are. As you can see, the connector on the iPhone 7, all the crucial components are actually on the bottom and flips over and it connects to the top. So everything here is fine, but you still have to be very careful. And the iPhone 7 is also, it has a level of water resistance, so there's going to be a seal. Once you break the seal, what we're going to need to do is actually put a new seal on it, and we have that also. Stand by. And this is the SCX digitizer seal that we will be using. Get that from the link below. What we need to do is add heat around the frame and then slowly lift it up and replace the screen. Let's go ahead. First thing we do is add heat. And the heat, what the heat will do is actually deactivate the glue or make it really more manageable. And from that point on, we should be able to lift, okay? But what we need to do, even before all that, is to take the pentalobe out. So let's go ahead and use the pentalobe out. Okay. Now let's go pull the other pentalobe out. Okay. One more screw left. There's been a lot of debris here. So what we're gonna do is carefully remove the pentalobe, put it in a safe place to reinstall. Now let's go ahead and add heat again around the screen. Add heat around the screen. We're gonna run it around about 30 more seconds. So that way it's hot enough that the glue will loosen up and it will allow us to lift the display off. And this time we're gonna be pulling it carefully from the bottom, moving it around from the top. Okay, now with a pry tool, we're gonna work away from the bottom. Okay, we need to lift it up. All right, just get it to a point where you can lift the screen up. There we go, getting close. Okay, now we have that lifted up. In the process, you will crack the screen additionally, but it's okay because we will be replacing it. Let's go ahead and put this out of play. Okay, there is a watertight seal that prevents it from opening up like you would do an iPhone 6. The seal is a little stronger than the 6S, but given heat and enough finesse, you should be able to pick this up carefully. All right, so now let's go ahead and work on the other side, add a little more heat. Okay, now let's use the pry tool, run it around the edge. Okay, carefully. Loosen up the frame so we can lift up the LCD display. Okay. And you notice that majority of the connection is on this side. It's all running from this side, okay? So we're gonna lift it carefully. Lift the lip up. Don't force it, let it come off carefully. And now we have the watertight seal, and there's another flex cable right here on the bottom. Okay, so this is what we have. We have, once you take it apart, you should see this is the display and the digitizer. This is the camera, and this is the display port and the connection port. So what we need to do is we're gonna get to this plate right here and then take out the battery. We have to disable the battery. Even though the battery is, the phone is turned off, there's still an active battery. And you look now, Apple has a proprietary screw. So none of the screw that we have will fit it except for the flat. We have a small flathead right here that will definitely be able to work through it. So I'm using my power torque screwdriver here, slowly taking the screws off. Apple has used a proprietary screw here to prevent people from breaking into the phone, doing an unauthorized repair, but there's always around it. So if you have a really thin flathead and a good torque screwdriver, you should be able to take care of this. All right. I made a mistake by not charging this screwdriver fully, so I'm using the manual mode, but that's all right. Here we go. So zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and lift the plate up. And the plate and the battery are connected, so as soon as you pick up the plate, you have the battery disabled. So now the phone is safely disabled, so you can work on it. From this point on, let's go ahead and use the pry tool to lift up the LCD connector. Have the LCD right here. Carefully lift it up using the pry tool. And then you have the digitizer. Okay. And now on this side, on the top, we have the camera. The camera connection. Let's go ahead and do the same. Just take it out with the plates. Specialized screws here. And carefully pull it off. My screwdriver has a magnetic tip, so definitely it is, when you're dealing with screws this small, you definitely need something with a magnetic pull on it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and reposition this. So you can see. Move it to the bottom here. All right, so now let's go ahead and take the last screw off. All right, right here. Now let's go ahead and lift the camera connector off the phone, and then use the pry tool to lift the connector off. Here we go. Now the phone is out of play. All we're gonna do is just transfer the components that we have. Zoom out. So now we have the phone out of play. Now we're going to transfer the two components, the two LCD. Okay. This is the old broken LCD and this is the new one. So what we're going to do is just switch off the parts. What we're going to do is concentrate on, we'll pull up the seal right over here. Pull up the seal. And now, let's go ahead and put top to top, bottom to bottom. Okay, so now, top to top, bottom to bottom. Like this. What we're gonna do now is transfer the fingerprint reader first. So from here in this bottom, let's go ahead and undo the screw and get to the fingerprint reader. All the proprietary screws are about initially the same size. Some is a little wider as far as the rim is concerned, but it should be all the same size screw. So let's go ahead, take the components carefully. Let me give you a close-up on the components I'm working on. So these are the two right here. Okay, and this is the plate. Okay. So now we're going to lift up the back plate also of this. This is a regular Phillip. All right, regular Phillip here. Now let's go ahead. Also take this off carefully. So now we're gonna lift this off here, and now this is the fingerprint reader and IC chip. So let's go ahead and carefully lift this off. This is the fingerprint IC. All right, so we have to be very careful not to damage it. The connector is very frail. Here we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and lift up the pins. Add a little heat, and we're gonna remove the rest of the connectors. Okay, get lead from the bottom. That back in. All right, so now let's go ahead and push the fingerprint reader chip off carefully. Okay. Be very careful with the connection. Let's add a little heat. All right, so now what we have is the IC chip. So let's go ahead and we're gonna lift this carefully, the connector, using the heat to loosen up the adhesive. Pick it up carefully. And now push it through. Push it through like that. Okay, and now that you have that push on through, we're gonna go ahead and transfer that onto this one right here, to the new one, okay? So let's go ahead and transfer it over. What we do is slide this underneath. We're gonna need to remove this thing right here. Okay. Slide it through here. And now we're going to line it up. Okay, so now we have that into place. Let's go ahead and put the bracket back in. And this is the IC fingerprint reader IC chip bracket. Put that later. Let's go ahead and put this, let's transfer the plate over. So now let's take all the components from this back plate here and transfer it on, okay? So we're gonna take all the screws from this plate and transfer it here. What we need to do is go ahead and loosen up the adhesive that's holding onto it. All right, and we're gonna reuse that. And then let's go ahead and take the side frame, all these screws. There should be about 5 screws on here. That's using the new proprietary drive. So let's go ahead and take the proprietary screws off and carefully wind it. We're gonna use just the proprietary screw came with the package to take the side screen off. All right, the fastener. All right, now we have one more on this side. This angle right here. Okay, and we have 2 more on the other side. There we go, 2 more, and then 1 more here. That will give us access to the plate. All right. Then we have the camera, the ear speakers, and the proximity sensors all up on here. Let's go ahead and take those brackets off. Again, they use the new proprietary screws along with the Phillips. The top one are Phillips, and these screws are a little different, so make sure you remember where they go. It's good to have a diagram. All right. Carefully move all this up. Okay. Let's fold this down, and this is the speaker, the ear speaker, and this is the proximity sensor. And these components we need to transfer, but you got to lift it up carefully without damaging it. So what we need to do is add heat on the other side and let it come off carefully by itself. Okay, now that we have enough heat, we should be able to lift this up carefully without damaging anything. Okay, here we go. Now the proximity sensor is right here. Let's lift that up. Here we go. So now all the components are taken off. What I like to also use is the original ring that it comes with. My replacement screen does not have that, so we're gonna use the camera brace ring right here. Okay, and we're gonna use my SGX to actually hold the brace ring back into place also. Let's lift up the plate. Okay, carefully lift up the plate. And now we have everything we need from here. Let's go ahead and put the new screen into here. And I'll put everything back into place. So let's go ahead and give you an overall shot. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put the bracket back into place. We know that the new screen and bracket runs through here and a loop. So let's do that. And okay, make sure everything is in place carefully. Here we go. We have everything that we want into place. Let's go ahead and put the camera ring in. So I'm gonna use a little adhesive, SGX on the side right here. And I'm placing it around my camera ring. And this is a silicone seal, perfect for the job. I like to build it into factory condition. So let's go ahead and place this back into place. Here we go. And now what we're gonna do is start putting the screws back into place. So as that is going around, I'm gonna go ahead and using the proprietary screw, fasten the bracket back in to the side. Like what I have here. And then okay, these screws are tiny, they're hard to work with, so be really careful. Always have a nice clean surface so you know we can track all your screws. All right. One more here, and then I have two more on the other side. All right. There we go. Now flip it over, work on the other side. Same way. There's two more screws that's holding this down. Let's go ahead and use it. There we go. Now we got one more screw. Okay. Now let's go ahead and put the camera and the speaker and all its component back into place. So we got the forward-facing camera, we have the speaker component and the proximity sensor. Proximity sensor back into proximity sensor place. And okay, let's go ahead and put the microphone This is the microphone slot right here. Oops, make sure this adhesive is in first. Just give it a little more time for the adhesive to stick before we actually cure it. Here we go. Let's work from the bottom first. Let's go ahead and put the bracket for the connectors in. And see in the bottom here, we have the fingerprint sensor bracket, which I snug down here. What I should do is free it up and make sure they come out. Okay, so let's go ahead and free that. Connector should be right in the bottom, right here. Okay, on the left right here. Put the last screws into the last corner here. Okay, so now we have, let's go ahead and apply the fingerprint connector into place. So this is your fingerprint connector here, fingerprint reader connector. Let's go ahead and add a little pressure onto it. Make sure the connector is snapped on. Let's go ahead and put the bracket back. So now with the bracket back into place, like I have here, but this time this is facing downward in like this. That's the connection here. Now let's go ahead, put these screws back in. These are the wider brim screws. Make sure you have all that. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, with the wider brim screw, let's go ahead and secure the fingerprint bracket into place. All right, and now let's go ahead and put the middle screw in, and that actually secures the thumb reader to the bracket. Then you have two more screws for the bottom. One more screw is here. Okay. Okay, now that is into place. So let's review everything. We have all the bottom connection done. Let's go ahead and work on the top connection now. Let's flip this over. And let's go ahead and work on the camera and the proximity sensor. First thing we do is put the pins for these pins here, or these connectors, are for the ear speaker connection. And this is the proximity sensor right here. Let's go ahead and put it in carefully into place. And this is the bracket. All right, and once it's nice and seated, you'll know it. You'll know once it's seated because it doesn't fall apart or fray. Now let's go ahead and put the ear speaker back on. These are the spring connectors, and we're going to apply it right where it's aligned. Okay, and then on top is the camera, forward-facing camera. Now let's go ahead and put the bracket back on. These are the brackets for it, and then let's put the screws. Okay, we have the tall screws. That's for the top one right here. This is the tallest of the Phillips. Goes into this notch here. All right. The speaker is magnetic, so it'll also attract the screws. So you have to really work it carefully into slot. Okay. And now let's go ahead and apply screws onto it. Now we have 2 more screws, 3 more actually here. Let's go ahead and put the longer screws of the remaining 2 to hold the plastic back piece. And then we have the shorter of the 2 remaining screws on one corner. And then 1 more left right in this corner here. All right, so we are pretty much almost done with the assembly of the screen and its components. And remember, we had the black tape, and like I said, I like to put everything back in the way I found it. So now we have the black electrical cutout tape. We're gonna place it back into here, and this is the connector, and that secures the connector into place. So now let's review, make sure we have everything ready. Okay, now we have a few more screws left. 1 more on this corner right here. That's one of the fatter screw. Okay. And now we have all that in. Let's go ahead and put it into the phone. So here is the phone again. And let's connect everything. So what we need to do is we're gonna go ahead and connect the camera and the ear speaker connection back in first. Okay. Now we're folding it back in this way. We're gonna put in the digitizer connection in and the LCD connection into place. Now the power connection back into here. So this is where the battery connector is located. So let's go ahead and make sure the battery slides back into place. Let's go ahead and actually remove the connector and make sure the battery's in. All right. It's a press connector. It should hear a clip once it's seated properly. If not, you just gotta work it until it does seat properly. Okay, that's the click we're trying to listen for. Now let's go ahead and fold the flex back into to the slot. Okay, and now let's just power on the phone to see before we put everything in, to make sure everything still powers on. And here we go, we have the phone on. And then we're gonna test everything. So let it power up. As it's powering up, I'm gonna go ahead and secure everything else too. I'm gonna go ahead and put all the connectors back into place and the brackets into place also. So let's go ahead and put the main plate connector back in. The plate for the main port. All right, this uses the proprietary screws. Make sure it's rested properly. and lock down. All right, and here's another one. We got 3 of these connectors here. All right. Got 2 more left down here. All right. And then there's one. That uses a different type. This uses a long pin one. It goes in, that secures the main board. All right. Here we go. Now let's test this screen. Yep, everything, the touch works, everything works. Let's go ahead and put the camera plate back on. Set the camera plate here. Okay, with the camera plate back into place. And takes 3 proprietary screws for the camera plate. All right. Be very careful when you move these screwdriver. There's a lot of fine components that can easily be snagged if there's a misstep. And if you're not comfortable doing this, you can just send me an email on my website, and the link is below. You can ship the phone for us. We can fix it for you, and we offer a 3-month warranty on all our repairs. That does not include if you drop it. That covers the defect. Okay, this is the final screw. And like always, the final screw is always the hardest to get to. All right. Okay, so now we have everything back into place. Everything works. What we need to do is do the final all-weather seal. So we need to use SGX on the edge. Like I said, the iPhone 7 has a water resistant level. So with the adhesive that we had the adhesive seal that we had to break off no longer makes this this phone waterproof after the repair. So what we have to do is put the seal back on. So I'm using an SGX seal around here. Okay, this is a silicone seal that is, all you need is a thin film of the seal around the phone to ensure that it has that water resistant. To be very careful around the power button and the volume, because this is silicone. It can definitely cause it once it cures. It can lock your buttons if you put too much of it. So now I'm using my finger now to lightly rub the seal around the phone to make sure the seal is there. All right, and now let's go ahead, and there's a lip on top. Let's go ahead and slide the lip back into place and then close the phone up. Seal the phone carefully. All right. Just make sure all the seals are in place. Okay. And I'm gonna let the seal, I will let the seal cure before I take the protective cover off and test it. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and just put the pentalobe back into place here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the pentalobe back on to the phone and leave it, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes to clean up the repair. Because when you're using a waterproof seal, there's always going to be a few runoff on the side. But again, this phone will be waterproof or water resistant again. So I'll be back in 10 minutes and see what happens. It's been 10 minutes now, and what we're going to do is use 99.9% alcohol on a felt cloth, and we're going to clean all the excess SGX off the side. Okay, if you are a repair shop and you do an iPhone 7 or 6S repair, if you don't use the digitizer seal around the side of the phone, it's no longer waterproof or water resistant. You need to use the seal. The seal will create a gasket that will prevent moisture from getting into this phone, so your customer will appreciate it. But anyways, let's go ahead and open everything up here, and that's it. Turn on the phone. Okay, I've been playing with the buttons, but anyways, this is Prac with iRepairMD, and what you saw was an iPhone 7 LCD repair with digitizer, with SGX digitizer seal to maintain the water resistant feature. So safe repair and have a good day.